Okay, I'll just keep on.
All right. Just briefly mention what we're talking about and what the EOP is.
What we're talking about was EOP, and EOP is English only policy, making all the students speak in English. And what's the problem that is happening is that no one is using English. So we're trying to find cures or like find ways to get through this problem. And I was trying to say that. Yeah, I'll just keep on there.
Okay. So you mentioned.
Yeah, I don't like the students.
Right. It's a problem because students are in charge of making sure the other students speak English, right? But as we can see, obviously, now that we've taken that away because of all those ethical problems, nobody's using EOP.
True.
Right?
I am.
You are?
I
Oh,
am.
that's great news. You know what? I will too also now. That's great. You see me? Say hello. I will too. Okay, so except for these very modest students, we don't have any good examples, especially in the 28th wave. Nobody really cares.
Oh, yeah, we still have Yang too.
Ah, yeah. But she only speaks English when she's trying to be annoying. So. But anyway, so the question that I want to phrase a bit differently is not what we think about EOP. It's should EOP exist in the form of student prosecution, or should EOP be banned? Because right now it's basically nothing, right? So what do we think is more important? The existence of an English-only policy, or the risk and what would we say? The damage that student prosecution could cause. What do we think is more important?
Well, but student prosecution isn't the only downside.
What's the other downside?
I mean, like, not the downside, but that wasn't the only thing the students had problems with. So.
What was some other?
How, like, basically,
How
the reason why the first graders were like called up was like.
There's no criteria for it?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but I think that would have been solved because it's very simple to create a criteria. The problem was more focused on students shooting other students, right?
also there was like the school didn't inform us in any way. It was kind of forced down on us from the almighty headmaster. So wait, this shouldn't be on record. So that was something that many people had problems with as well. That there was,
Hey, you're like 2,000 times larger than that. You're like a giant.
Anyway, so there were other problems, excluding student accusations.
You know, yes.
Yeah, I mean, that is also right. And even in the perspective of prosecutors, who are the EOP students, even in their perspective, I think many of my friends are in the EOP department, and they have to prosecute people, even seniors and juniors also. And they have told me that it was kind of pressuring to prosecute, especially juniors and seniors, and the juniors and seniors would actually react in a very,
Emotionally.
Yeah, emotional way.
Yeah, we could guess, right?
Yeah, and even their peers would appear to be really mad about being prosecuted, and they've said that they felt that some people were kind of bullying them and just calling them out for just being in the EOP department, even though they kept all the rules that they were given, and they were just doing their job because the headmaster told them to do it. And so even in the perspective of EOP students, I don't think students being the prosecutors is a very good idea in a school.
Can I also add?
Yes,
Yeah.
Jace, feel free to do so.
Like, the current KMLA today is not very. I'm sorry, my voice is not really great. I think the current KMLA is not really ready for EOP because I'm sorry, Department of EOP, but I heard that EOP department actually has their meetings in Korean. So that's kind of a paradox. Yeah. I heard that news and I was kind of shocked. So I think not every person in KMLA is 100% capable of actually speaking English. This is also not only the students but also the teachers. There are teachers who I felt that they were not as capable of using English even than us. So I think in order for EOP or like student shooting student process to be implemented more thoroughly, then I think the overall KMLA should be like more ready for EOP. I don't know what that means. Maybe it's just like maybe I don't know. Maybe picking more people who's capable of EOP in the admissions process. I don't know. But I felt that the current KMLA today is not ready for EOP.
Actually, yeah, that's a very good point. Just one thing that I want to mention before I give the mic to Danny, or figurative mic because I don't have anything, is that I think you can't define when someone is ready, right? You weren't ready for waking up at 6 a.m. and going to kendo, right? You weren't ready, but you're adjusting to it because you have to, right? You're not gonna drop out of this place after you've paid $16,000 already for tuition, right? So I think being ready is also a very good aspect, as you pointed out, but I think we should also focus on why EOP is there in the first place, is to improve everybody, because not everyone is on par with the rest, right? So I know you, Jason, and everybody here are fully capable of speaking English, but you wouldn't do so if you weren't forced to do so. But if I forced you to do it, you would probably be able to do that, right? So I think it's more about adjusting, but that's just my personal perspective. And I think Jace brought up a very important point. So yes, I'll now hand the mic to Danny.
Before I say my thing, I would like to say that most members of the EOP department, even if they are in the EOP department, dislike EOP. Daniel himself dislikes student-to-student EOP. Daniel, the Kangyeejun.
Ah, the captain.
Daniel's Kangyeejun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that name is so not him.
And so anyways, the very person who was called up to the third grader, I still believe that we should have student-to-student prosecutions. I probably prosecute the most people in the EOP department.
Whoa.
I heard so.
Yeah, but because if the manual was perfect, if the manual was perfect, and if we just came to KMLA and the EOP was everywhere, then we would just right in. None of these backlashes would have happened if EOP was kept starting like 10 or 20 years back. So if EOP was kept along and we came here, then no one would just have any arguments against EOP. They would just think that it is an innate aspect of KMLA, and that's what I wish KMLA looked like, because I do believe that the EOP is a very important aspect of KMLA, and it just feels that, I mean, if we just like, Park teacher told the EOP department that some students was disappointed at KMLA because they came to KMLA because they wanted to use EOP, and like no one used EOP, and like, some students even said that they were embarrassed to use English in front of all the Korean-speaking people, and like us coming here and standing against EOP and them not being able to speak EOP, I believe that their rights should be more upheld, and that's why. And I got like. My friends told me, why are you doing that much? The seniors call me up to the room. The more seniors call me the junior. Freshmen don't accuse seniors or juniors. I still did it for the sake of school and for the aspect of KMLA and for EOP itself.
Whoa.
Wow, we need Wes. Let's give a round of applause for Danny. We need more like him. Yes, Danny, you are playing at devil's advocate, but I am also in that position, so I actually agree with you on various fields, but yeah, just to keep my composure and not to obliterate every single other people's arguments, I will keep my neutrality. And Lucy, would you like to comment on anything?
Actually, that is true. I once speak English with my friends, and since they all speak Korean, it's kind of, there's another peer pressure on me because I have to use Korean with them. If I use English, and they'll ask me why do you even try to use English that hard? And that is straightly opposing the purpose of EOP, but yeah, there we go. That's the culture of the school for some reason. And for that reason, forcing EOP is somehow inevitable and essential in a way to, rebuild the school culture and everything, but the method here used wasn't a good way.
It wasn't the
say.
best.
It wasn't the best. I would say it was the worst, because if you're going to make students, accuse other students, you should have provided at least like a kind of like a safety facility, like a safety rule to protect the students who are accusing them, And I heard the headmaster didn't do anything to ensure the safety of the students of the EOP department, and he was like, this is all the process for the policy to settle in or whatsoever, and I just don't understand how a person who is teaching students at this school, who's supposed to be the educationer of the school, can take such a stance, but he did, and I do not like this. It's unfathomable in a way, because you need to protect the students in order to enhance the policy, and you didn't do anything about it, and just made the students take all the blame, and that is unacceptable. So I do agree on forcing EOP, and I would most certainly be the biggest advocate for it if that was to happen. I have been for the past few weeks when the EOP was enforced by students, but the method is not right, and if it does not change, I cannot agree to what the school is applying. That's, my conclusion.
All right. I think that also makes a lot of sense. This is why this problem is so hard and so fun. Do you know the three-body problem in physics?
Yeah.
It has no answer, right, Charles? You would know because you're a physics major and you have like 8 PhDs already.
Well, I don't know a thing about the three-body problem, but I know.
You know it's unsolvable, right? So yeah, basically it's a very difficult problem in physics where it has no valid solution up to date, and EOP is one of those dilemmas, especially at least in our school. It's a very interesting one, because do you know the trolley dilemma? You're gonna run over a pregnant lady or 6 workers with a railroad cart. That's the trolley dilemma, right? So it's basically between student rights and school motto and school legislation. So it's really a problem between that. But I do agree on your front, Lucy, that there's probably way better ways to solve this. And I think they actually had one chance to do it and they blew it because they, think of the phrase, they jumped the gun too early.
What instance are we talking about?
So they should, I think student-to-student prosecution is okay, but as Lucy mentioned, you should, if you want to do that, you need a lot more regulations and a lot more rigid structure in place so that you blame the legislation, not the students or the people. We didn't have that, and now since we have such a bad precedent, every time anyone says, hey, how about we try student prosecution EOP, we're going to be like, no, that was the worst thing that ever happened to us. We're not going to do that again. So I think they jumped the gun too early, and now we have no...
I have something to add on.
Yeah,
to what
yeah,
you
yeah.
said,
Yeah.
Is actually, I just thought of it, but for us, what's Sundofu in English?
Student guidance.
Student guidance. Yeah, okay, if they accuse us, do we oppose to them or do we do something about it?
Sometimes.
But most
Yeah, I get what you
we
mean.
just admit the fact that we were just but why did we actually oppose to the EOP members and do stuff?
Because it's way more liberal in the way they accuse people.
Maybe that's the point, but maybe I actually thought of a twist, and maybe not a twist, but I just brought a new perspective. What's Kwani in English?
Kwani. Authority.
Authority, the authority that the council, the group has given is different. So Sondo, they have been out for a long time accusing people. They have gained their power for a long time, and they have made their name. They gained authority. They have the authority.
I think
Yeah,
it's they've built ethos, right?
ethos.
So credibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, ethos, right?
And yeah, but like for EOP, their power was given so suddenly, and the students don't really think much about the EOP team, like EOP. Also, like like it's not the first choice,
I actually think one more reason is that for the Department of Student Guidance, you have a definite standard.
Yes, that was what I
being
meant.
late.
Yeah.
And so like it's when it's over 8:02, you're late,
No-
and
nobody's gonna
nobody can deny
object,
the
yeah.
fact that you're late because
Yeah.
you're the one who's late. But then for the EOP, right, you speak English and Korean all over the school, and obviously there aren't many EOP members to supervise all the school, right? Like all the students speaking Korean. So it's like, so this kind of occasion can happen. Like one was speaking Korean on Minyo, and one was speaking Korean in Tasan. But one in Tasan got caught, and one in Minyo did not. And it was like, and that person who got caught will be like, well, like he didn't get caught, and I did it, so it was just an unlucky day. Like I was in a bad luck today, and just because of that, I have to go to court and waste my time. And that's the thing. So if you cannot record what everybody is saying in that week, you cannot never know the clear standard of who is speaking Korean, who is speaking English.
Yeah.
So that's the failure there, and that cannot be believed.
But I have something to say, but even considering that, like, the role that EOP holds is a lot powerful than student guidance, I think authority has to do a lot with, like, acceptance. I think EOP would have been better if, for example, let's say the headmaster kind of announced to the school that EOP would start from, like, 2025 February, and all of the EOP department kind of chose their department members according to their standards. So maybe they tested like Sundo actually. I heard that Sundo in their interview, Sundo actually tests people shouting out like 1분 남았습니다 or like 30초 남았습니다.
As a welcome, they also kind of had like an agenda test. Like, is this guy a lunatic?
If like EOP members were more designed to actually prosecute people, then I think it would have been much better. Because,
Actually, that is a very valid point, because if we knew that EOP was going to do a lot more than just, trying to somehow build radio programs, because that was what they were trying to do last year, right? They were trying to do like morning radio sessions where they would invite guests over and have like radio podcasts. That didn't end well. But yeah, if we knew that EOP was going to do something like that, then they probably would have had an agenda test, right? Because Department of Student Guidance has like agenda tests to test if this guy is or this girl is crazy or not, if they're just going to shoot anyone or if they're going to be just and right and all of that. So yes, valid point. Thank you. To catch you up, Asa, we were talking about the EOP, which I believe you're very familiar with. And so we were talking about the several qualms and problems that student-to-student prosecution had. We were also talking about if that wasn't in place, it wouldn't work, or some arguments were pitched in that direction. So what are your thoughts? Or if you would like to listen to some more and then create your opinion, that's also fine. We have not heard from Katie, Slim Jim, William, Shakespeare, and Woo. Yes.
William Shakespeare.
No, he's just William. I just added Shakespeare because I was reading Macbeth. But yes, would anyone like to go that has not gone already?
Give Slim Jim a chance to speak.
Yes, okay. We run with democracy, so we're taking up that idea.
So Danny mentioned that Baccarat teacher said that there were students who were disappointed because the students didn't keep EOP. But I don't really think I don't really think that Baccarat teacher really cares about the students. Like in those ways, because in the EOP meeting, she literally said that universities pick students of KMLA students because they have EOP. So I think it's not really about the students, but she almost loves keeping rules and forcing others to keep rules. I mean, she even catches people in the able to it.
I think, You know, this is definitely not because I am a Chinese student, but let me just advocate for that a bit. It's like this. It's what Lucy said about one speaks English at Mingyu. Actually, Mingyu is wrong because you don't get caught in Mingyu. But I'm sorry. But let's say one spoke English in Yeongju, one spoke English in Dasan, and one gets caught and one doesn't. It's unfair, right? So I think the reason that Bakayan teacher tries to prosecute everybody that she sees that has violated something is because she's trying to stay as fair as possible. Because if you make exceptions for one person, then you start to make exceptions for a lot of cases. The reason that we see her as this sort of prosecuting role is because other teachers are much more lenient with their prosecutions. They don't really like to sue anyone. And just because the other teachers are lenient doesn't mean that the regulation doesn't exist, right? You still did something wrong, but let's say you were caught by Bakayan teacher rather than like Mr. Yang. So you would just consider your day lucky. It's like, well, I got caught by Ms. Park instead of Mr. Yang. So it's like, oh, it's just my bad luck. But we have to understand that there are regulations, and we can say that it's bad luck. But that doesn't give us the justification to blame someone or the prosecutor. So it's if everybody had this mindset, EOP wouldn't be a problem because the seniors would just think, oh, it's just bad luck. I'm definitely not going to blame that freshman for accusing me, right? But that's not really what happens, and we do have emotions since we're human. So yes, that's I think Slim Jim. I do understand your perspective, and I have a lot of friends that would say something that's a lot worse about Ms. Kayon than what you just said. But just to defend her a bit, it's not because she has malicious intent. It's more that she wants to do what's best for you, but what's best for students. But she just has a different approach to it. So yeah.
I just have to say one thing.
Yeah.
She literally said that international universities pick students in KMLA students because they keep EOP.
Yeah, right.
But
Because
I
they think
believe
it exists.
The universities expect us to speak in English and the students, the teachers to do the lectures in English rather than speaking in English in like real life, which is only about like less than 1 hour
Right.
every day. But she mentioned that universities pick students because KMLA students use English, so I'm not really sure if her logic is like that strong to
Begin with, right?
like force some students to prosecute others.
So are you saying that she should teach Chinese and English?
That's actually true.
Not Chinese, but like, I think we could teach subjects like SAT Physics 1 or SAT Chemistry 1 in English, but
The thing is,
so
the teachers have difficulty.
oh.
Yeah, there are.
Combine physics
That's why
clearly in English.
that's the logic that we used to like not PEOP. Like,
But the thing is, us being us having problems communicating isn't a big problem because we don't have things that are that important to talk about usually, right? But if the teacher starts talking in English and nobody understands, it's still his class, right? So if
has higher English.
Yes, that is very true.
They can't fire them all.
But like, at least I
That's why I really don't like that. The law.
Actually, yeah, my question.
I mean,
Agree with
EOP
you.
is one of the pillars that keeps KMLA this prestigious, so I don't think her logic is that wrong. I mean,
Like,
it is
you know,
an
but
important.
it's more of a, what should I say? More, how should I say, but like, so, it's just like a whole thing of like, we don't really, it's something to show off.
It's
not
a
that
facade.
It's a realistic thing, a real thing that comes into us. So actually, I partially agree with what you just said. So at least for AP curriculums, we can just really like teach students in English. Though it might not really settle in for the first 2 years or so, but at least it will be tried, and I think it might really bring in some good, I don't know, atmosphere for the whole school or so. Yeah.
I think it's a great idea, but I definitely know that it's not going to be happening anytime soon in the future. Okay, so Slim Jim, what you mentioned was actually very valid, because by regulation, you should be able to teach students in English, right? You should teach students in
That's the
English.
criteria for my.
Right. And you should have hired people based on those requirements.
Problem is, there aren't people who would come who also possess the English abilities.
I mean, they would come if we paid them more, but we are broke.
We are broke, yeah.
So, yeah, I would say that's a sad little part.
Even some teachers who
Mhm.
did their PhD in international universities, they don't teach English.
That's because every other teacher doesn't do
That's
so.
like
It's like,
saying that all the students don't keep EOP because others don't keep EOP.
that's why we don't keep EOP.
So why prosecute students then?
That because it's like if you know, back in the day there was Myungjae, right? So back when he was alive, everybody had to keep EOP not because students prosecuted them, but because he wanted EOP and he wanted it to exist. And if it didn't exist, he would like cut the payroll of teachers.
What?
Yes. No, he actually did. So he was.
National teachers that he had like CCTVs in every room with mics, and he would sit in his office and listen to the classes and check if everybody kept EOP.
Yeah. So anyway, back then, you have some kind of, although rather be it quite irrational role of an antagonist, right? But you still had someone to enforce that. Really, the problem isn't we want student-to-student EOP or student-to-student prosecution. It's we want EOP, but how do we make this into existence? Because no one's going to use it if no one is, it's either the carrot or the stick. We tried the carrot, it didn't work out. So we only had the stick. We tried the stick and it failed tremendously. So yeah, what now? So I think if we dwell more on is EOP going to be good or is problems of student prosecution, since there is a real world problem that we face, I think this is going to go to a bit more extreme levels. So I think maybe, how about we pitch solutions for EOP? How about some other solutions? Yes, actually Charles has been trying to start to speak for quite a while, so yeah, Charles, you can go.
I have some extreme opinions on EOP.
Yes.
Like,
Please
rather
share them.
extreme. And I think a solution to this problem, while this might make some people angry, is that we should abolish EOP. Because honestly, EOP hasn't been kept in this school for as long as anyone can remember. It is always in the books, but it was always only in the books, and nobody kept it, and it's like a culture of our school.
Like until Chae Myung-jae died, right?
But even before Chae Myung-jae died, he wasn't present at the school, so.
That's true.
Yeah, and my from what I hear from domestic students, everyone here is interested in EOP and likes speaking English, but people like domestic students who don't really care about EOP, for them, I thought honestly it might be in their interest. It might be better for them if they just speak Korean, because honestly, for international students, of course, as Pakman teachers said, of course it might be better for the university if they speak English better, but for domestic students, I honestly see no point in going to those taking extreme measures just to make them keep EOP when the reward seems so little. And honestly, I think that for international students too, I think it should be a matter of choice rather than a school policy, because I see people come to Team C every week and see that if we try to do EOP without any enforcement on our own free will, I see that EOP is possible. I don't see why this wouldn't be possible on a more school-wide level if we just like tried harder rather than reverting to penalty points, which I think is the laziest form of enforcement. Because who wouldn't do something if penalty points were given to them? But I honestly think one, EOP is possible on a voluntary level, and two, not everyone needs EOP. So I think that EOP regulation as a regulation, it might be better if we just abolished it and took a more voluntary stance on it. But that's just my opinion.
All right.
I
Yes.
also have a similar opinion. I kind of like surprisingly agree to Charles's opinion, and I think EOP should be abolished, but I don't think this means that basically the English-speaking culture of Minsa should be just gone. I
Right.
think we should like maybe change the name to like English recommendation policy, maybe like ERP. Because like there are people like in Team C who are like willing to speak English, and there's also a lot of international students, and also even though like even though we're domestic, there are people who are like really enthusiastic on speaking English. So I think the school should like recommend speaking English on those groups, maybe on those scale, so that maybe people who speak English and people who are kind of just willing to develop their English speech skills can like basically go on, and people who don't want it can maybe just like get a step back.
Yeah.
Yes, Asa. Please share with you your words of wisdom. I'm sorry. It's just because every time you share an argument, it's very sophisticated and it makes absolute sense. So yes, I'm sorry, but please continue.
Actually, I kind of wanted to question the fundamental value and the fundamental goal of English-only policy. So, the goal of English-only policy argues that English is only useful to raise career to the highest level by accommodating diverse civilizations and cultures traditions. And also, they argue that it's not an end in itself, but more like a means to an end. And the posters, if we refer to the posters, they say, keep EOP for your pride and honor. However, I don't think that really applies to this time and age. It sounds very anachronistic. You get what I mean? And that pride and honor thing doesn't always work for everyone. Like the domestic students.
It's me again.
I mean, and I think the fundamental problem with that is the fact that you view it as a tool, and I think that really makes it English really difficult to approach for some students, because without addressing to how beautiful that language itself is and how interesting that language can be, the school only enforces students to touch upon the surface aspect of like the benefits it can have in the future, but that future sounds very distant and somewhat difficult to emphasize for many of the students. So I think the biggest problem is that we're not creating an environment for students who want to speak English can speak English in a comfortable manner, but more like right now it's more like penalizing students for speaking Korean when many of them actually have the potential to speak good English. Like for instance, I feel like the prosecutions are getting really petty and really unnecessary, like uncalled for. Just because you say a single word or a phrase in Korean doesn't mean you can't
elaborate yourself in English. And I think that's what may be causing disagreements and disagreement among students. So I think the focus, if there should be any, on how to resolve this problem, would be to address the fundamental values of EOP and why we have to keep it, not for the, not not using English just as a tool, but also just because you enjoy speaking English and because it's fun. And that's my opinion on English, and I feel like other people also have the potential to have a similar, grow a similar taste in English. And
Yes, can we give a loud applause?
Actually, like, I have a idealistic model of the English using culture. Like,
Yeah.
for me, like, when I meet my friends in Hong Kong, like, they are Korean, like, they can speak English, but, like, their first language is English.
Mm-hmm.
So, but for me, like, I'm not really comfortable with fully speaking English. So, the thing is, like, they mix the language. So sometimes they speak English, and sometimes they mix Korean with English. Sometimes they just use Korean. Like, for me, that's how I actually more get used to the language. Maybe sometimes I can like freely use Korean when I'm like kind of stuck. But when I have the like what should I say?
Capability.
Yeah, capability or like how to say, like the courage to say it. I should say it, but something like this. But when I can do it, I can just speak the English and speak the language. And when I think I can't, I can just change to another. And when I can then a few words later, I can just go back to the track of English. Yeah, so maybe making a culture where we can speak both the language and mixing them up, like within some point. Like, I think this might be better than just forcing English.
Yes. Okay. Thanks for your opinion, and thank you, Asa. I told you words of wisdom for a reason. Yes. Thank you for your opinion. I think it's very valid, and yeah, I think you mentioned a very important aspect of it is why are we doing it in the first place? And I agree with that accusations were getting very petty towards the end. So yes, actually after hearing that, that gives me some ideas, but I'll elaborate later. Yes, Charles.
I think to Asia and Young's opinions, although this might sound a bit like Korean propaganda, I honestly do believe that also, although we are pretty used to speaking Korean, I do believe that Korean itself has value as a language. And
Of course.
I think it is a rather beautiful language, and I honestly think that like English only policy in some way.
I think you also agree with Asa's opinion. It's like penalizing Korean rather than encouraging English, right?
English is beautiful. If people want to speak English, people should speak English. But also Korean is a beautiful language as well. So if people would want to speak Korean, they should speak Korean. They should be allowed to speak Korean. We should, as Asa said, I think that language itself can be an end, not a means to an end. And I don't see any sense in banning either use of like penalize speaking Korean or making a culture where speaking English is like frowned upon as we currently have made it somehow as EOP. So I think that we should we should encourage both. We shouldn't penalize it.
Hmm. Okay. All right. So yes, Danny.
Before I go into my opinion of an ideal EOP, I would just like to add to my earlier argument that people said harsh words to the EOP department, and I do get that there were some bullies in some cases, and there were rumors, bad rumors, but for me, I just didn't care because we were just doing what the school said. So it's not our fault. It's their fault for blaming us, blame the school, not us. So I didn't care about those kind of, like bad things and stuff. Anyway, going into my ideal model, I still don't believe that EOP should be abolished because it's been shown again and again that students agree to EOP itself. In the 34th legislative, it actually came up to abolish EOP, and they said no. They said no, let's keep EOP. In the various surveys that EOP conducted over the last few years, over 80% of people said yes to EOP. That means, let's say around the internationals are around 30 to 40%. That means the domestics still mostly agreed to EOP. And my K module teacher is a national teacher as well, and he also said that like the Kwaku Yangjiwo people and the other like top class students in the just regular schools, they're good at science and math. So you need to show the universities that you're good at science and math, but English as well, so you can get be
A competitive edge.
yeah, competitive. And a good way of that is EOP or English, English clubs. And so I really, I do think that EOP would be good for domestic students as well. And over the past year, I did some research on how EOP changed because I'm writing about it on Pre-Penal. But in 2016, the EOP department actually did something very similar to STIC earlier this year, and it failed horribly. And in 2022, the EOP department did like a gradual twist to EOP. Like they had 3 levels, and they came from level 1, level 2, level 3. They went up until level 3, but they failed tremendously. And EOP radio failed, and the helper EOPs failed, and the X-Men EOP failed. I've heard about all of those policies. And the carrots failed, and the stick, we did try to stick, and they didn't like the stick. So the school was like, we're giving you the carrot, we're giving you the carrot, use EOP, we're giving you the carrot. No one used EOP. Then why do you? The stick was the time when EOP was most reinforced. So I still do believe that kind of enforcement on EOP should be, just come out. But I do agree that it was a bit radical. So I would like to put Daniel here. That Daniel suggested something called EOP Day. So it's just enforcing EOP only once a week. Yeah, so you can use Korean for the other 4 days, and I do think that is a really good alternative, like a middle ground between the stick and the carrot. So if you just give only 1 day on EOP, then the students will be more. I think they will be more motivated to use EOP on that day. And also, I think that the speech thing that we're doing right now, I think that's also a good solution, because even let's say that someone just got EOP, they still have a chance to cancel the prosecution, because like I believe that EOP Day and the canceling of the prosecution would be the 2 main prospects we should look forward to creating an ideal EOP under the premises that I just gave, that EOP is needed and EOP is good for domestics as well.
Okay.
So I have something to add.
Yes.
So I think, besides that, I think the current penalty to EOP is too strong. I mean, today, I think it's like 3 points or 2 points, yeah. I think that's like too strong, so maybe, I think we should kind of like reduce the penalty points, so maybe if you get like caught 2 times, then you get 1 point, or kind of like that, because I think 2 points is, compared to like other violences that are in the school today, I think 2 points is a bit too strong for just violating EOP and using Korean.
Okay. You know what? I think we've talked a lot about EOP, and I'd like to propose a solution myself. And it's actually not canceling EOP, because it's going to exist. And it's not about doing student prosecution, because those are the things of the past, and what's done's done. We can't bring that back to life, right? It's not we're going to do CPR on it. So I give you a proposal, and this is going to it's not going to be, you know, a very radical one. And it's going to be more based on effort. It's not going to be the carrot or the stick, because we're not going to be lending help from the school. And I think I've pitched this small times a lot during Team C. But how about we do EOP as, how about we, okay, you know what? I actually imagined this to be a lot more inspiring, but since I'm lacking oxygen and yes, I'm quite tired today. So it's basically simple. You can only force the donkey to do something via 3 ways, actually. The 2 ways that we know are the carrot and the stick, but there's actually a 3rd way that everybody likes to forget. It's when the donkey actually wants to do something himself, right? And you can make it want to do something. It's very easy. We can use peer pressure. If the other donkeys do it, he'll do it as well. If he feels a need, he'll do it, right? So we have in Team C 40 people. It's not dead, you gotta kill it. We have in Team C 40 people, and we have here about 14. We had last time about 28, and we have about 12 idle, right? So I think there are more, especially in the 29th wave, that are more friendly towards EOP and also want to use it, like Ava mentioned, but they don't want to be forced by it, and they don't want to receive penalty points for just the clumsy mistake they made. They want to approach it more as a tool, and not as a tool, but more as a game and more as something they can enjoy, right? So how about as Team C, we organize student leading EOP that we do ourselves, and we campaign for others to do as well. But as we all know, Team C is a very liberal club. I don't force you to do anything, right? We don't have penalties, because I'm against that, and everybody is against penalties. So yes, you have friends. I don't have Ava's friends. I don't have Woo's friends. I have my friends. You have yours. And guessing that we have 40 people, we're gonna have a lot more people. This doesn't have to be mandatory. I don't expect everybody to start speaking English tomorrow and it's gonna be perfect and it's going to be leak-proof. No. But I also don't expect people to start using Korean the moment they step into their classrooms, right? Because that was the limit of the EOP we had. And since I am unfortunately not going to be the executive branch president for 2nd semester, which means I have quite a lot of time left. So I think maybe we can do this as a long-term project where we promote EOP, use it ourselves, and we have a variety of talented individuals here, chemistry, biology, anyway, and then we have a lot of very talented people in English, obviously. So I think if we try to do it, we might not bring a total change, but at least we can make it more meaningful and we can make it a lot less hostile. So I think it's very, it was a productive conversation we had today about EOP, because you can't really learn anything from the past if we don't reflect on what we did wrong and what we could improve on. But I think dwelling more on what has been or what we could have improved or what's the problem with the facility now that we can't change anymore, that is unproductive and that is foolish. So I think we should focus on what we can do now and as a club and as a group rather than some sort of judicial council or some department, right? We're individuals, we're passionate about speaking English, and we're decently good at it. So don't do that. So yes, I'll start organizing something, and I hope you all participate just as actively as you've done so far. And I think we have about 8 minutes until one of the seniors knocks on the door and says they gotta do Hanjang, right? So how about for the rest, I want us to have some relaxation because this is quite a heavy topic. There's a lot of feelings involved, especially because everybody was either the victim or they were victim in many ways, right? Prosecutors can also be victims, right? It's because many people were related. and many people put in their efforts that may feel like they've been denied. So I think we should move away from such a heavy topic. I'm sorry I chose this one, but it was very productive. And I want to talk about your vision trip, right? Now it's much lighter now. So yeah, I'm actually curious as to what you learned. Because last year did we learn anything? No, right? I mean, I don't know, but I just sort of went there to play. And I succeeded in doing that. I also wasted a lot of my parents' money on a lot of useless stuff. But yeah, so I'm curious as to what you guys enjoyed about that. And I actually asked this question when you guys first came to Team C. You know what it was? It was, what do you rate KMLA out of 10?
Oh.
I actually remember your average score. You know what it was?
7?
Yes, it was a 7. It was pretty high. And I was surprised. So I'm actually curious, now that you have morning exercise and everything, 1, what do you rate KMLA out of 10? And 2, what do you rate your vision trip out of 10? We'll go short answers and a bit of discussion, and then we'll end it up on a more of a positive note. And as for the EOP thing, I'll try to organize that. I do have a decent bit of free time compared to APs, I guess. So yeah. Does anyone want to start?
I think the people who didn't speak should go first.
People expect me to go first?
People who didn't speak should go first.
That means Katie, it's you.
I didn't even think about rating, so I need time to.
You need time? Okay, you got 30 seconds. Yes, Woo. Yes.
Alright. KMLA.
He's comparing between a 0 and a 1. So
There are numbers between 0 and
Higher than that. Just 5.
why?
Because it makes some expectations to improve. As now, there are a lot of potential students and maybe potential teachers. Anyway, they teach us a lot of things from their class to our such a little behaviors that might cause some big success. Anyway, yes, I don't like the morning exercise, some occasionally not delicious food. Yes, the atmosphere coming to my so, yes, such things make me hate KMLA, but the other things make me love KMLA.
Like what?
Like
You can be wholesome.
beautiful nature.
A beautiful nature?
I don't think that's that beautiful. It's like looking at the mirror.
This guy's what did you say?
Whoa.
Yo, you have to be playing with him.
That doesn't make you Spider-Man, Young. Stop.
Like he's cute, you know.
No, he is not.
Please don't share with us your girlfriend. I don't need to know that.
You get the points. You get it.
Yes, anyway, thank you, Woo. And Katie, 30 seconds has passed.
I rate KMLA as A because like I met so many great people like me.
That's some confidence.
And of course there are like hardships and like problems, but I think those are the things that I have to solve. And the reason I kind of said 8 and not 10 is because of course there are systematic problems like EOP and other things that I should mention here. So and I think also they also need improvements. So yeah.
Okay. What about the tuition? What about paying like $8,000 per month, right? Yeah, William.
So my biggest problem as like a freshman was like having to wake up at 6:30 when I slept, although I slept like 2:30 the day before, and I really wanted to kill myself because of morning exercise.
It's a bit extreme, but
But I get the point.
Yeah, like as
we all
now as a junior, I think it's like everything's better. Like the life itself you know, like the world has more color.
Because you do jogging.
Yeah. Junior, trust me, like the world is, everybody is kind to you, and like the trees and the leaves are green. And you know, your grades are gonna get better if you become junior. That's like the biggest thing.
Yes, that's under the assumption that you're international. If you're domestic, I don't know.
Also, you should pick John, me and Jasper.
Yeah,
You're still in Kendo and.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We see you every morning, right?
We
Like, I don't
see us
understand you.
do this
Yeah.
for like 300 times every day.
Are you Taekwondo? Are you Taekwondo?
No, she's.
So she's
No.
Oh, she's Kendo?
Yeah.
But the person beside you is Taekwondo, right?
Yeah.
Taekwondo isn't morning exercise. It's
Yes.
just more
Yeah, it
than
is.
It's just a miracle morning.
Meditation.
Yes.
take the exercise out of
You
morning.
know, I was like one of the top students who didn't go to morning exercise.
Right.
I don't think that's something to brag, but okay.
I'm not bragging. And like and the Kim Young-sun teacher always mentioned me.
Right.
That's
on
very
stage.
true.
Right.
But he didn't come, someone didn't came again, and I got like 48 points in one court.
Wow. Surely
Although I
I'm not
survived,
that bad.
that's like,
It's a miracle you're still here.
Yeah.
and like everything was depressing. You know, like I think I'm like the only one who's serious here, like about this morning exercise. Like just like wait 1 year and like life is gonna get better.
Right.
Unless you choose Kendo.
Right.
But when you enter technically, you will have the Kukuma Sungi. And like Kukuma Sungi, if the time is good, you might pass it and like not get points on.
But guys, Kendo is actually pretty fun too, guys.
No lie.
Yeah,
Don't be mean, Lucy.
Can't you actually like voluntary?
The
Yeah,
audacity
like,
to say
Actually, I
Why?
volunteered from the start. I
Me
did
too.
the draw, and I got Taekwondo, but I just gave it away.
You're also 선택적.
Yeah.
나는 선택적.
Why?
Because it's either suffer now or suffer later, and I'd rather suffer now, so
You don't suffer later.
But for me, whenever
I do.
see the candle sword, I want to like throw up.
that happens. Anyway, I want to hear one more person, and then we can wrap it up because a senior has come, and we are. You
Yeah.
go to your room or go as in talk.
Wait, can you talk about vision change next week and just
Yeah,
talk
sure.
about this?
Yeah. Sure.
About Kendo.
I don't think I'll have this.
Yes, Jace.
I mean, I felt that like, okay, I was just one rock scissors paper away from going to Taekwondo, but I lost it.
Oh my God.
I landed in Kendo, and I think like I personally believe that Kendo is hard, but for me, I think the thing that was most hard for me was just like waking up at 6:20 and 6:30.
Right.
So I mean, in that perspective, I guess like Taekwondo and Kendo doesn't have like that much difference in that.
They don't walk to the gym.
Yeah.
That's the difference, son.
That's a very valid point.
No,
He woke up at 6.
no, that's too young, not me. I woke up at 25. I woke up at 25.
You know, there is a definite difference in sleeping time
That's
between Taekwondo and Kendo.
that's true.
Yeah, but I mean, we didn't experience it because till now, Taekwondo also went to.
The gym. Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we gotta go. So, anyone want to summarize our session today? Between Katie and Ava and Lucy and Danny and Slim Jim.
Abolish
What do you
EOP.
mean?
Summarize the session.
We talked about. We had a session. Why are you even zooming in?
I'm not zooming in. I'm approaching.
Yeah, so we had a session about whether we should keep EOP and how to improve it if we should. And it was very productive, and Jasper's gonna start something next week or like when he has free time, so I hope he would do that. And we also had some touching or I don't know, a very valid rating of morning exercise from this freshman, and we hope to see you next week.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's